I'm talking about that heartache where your motherfucking heart be, ooh, hurting and shit, and you can't even listen to music. Shit remind like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So that reminds me of my lady. She got a nose just like Rudolph.
Comedian Richard Pryor is in critical condition tonight and given less than a 50-50 chance of surviving after suffering third-degree burns over half of his body.
Police said Pryor was burned because some ether and cocaine he was using in his bedroom caught fire.
Richard Pryor, a name synonymous with comedy, a genius who pushed the boundaries and broke barriers. But amidst his groundbreaking career, there's a moment etched in history, one that shocked the world and redefined Pryor's legacy forever. Before we delve into that unforgettable moment, let's understand Pryor's journey. He was a trailblazer, known for his raw and honest comedy, unafraid to tackle social issues with humor, courage, and vulnerability. Pryor moved to New York City in 1963 and began working regularly. Inspired by Bill Cosby, who was the biggest African-American comic at the time, Pryor was doing a middlebrow act, using much less controversial material. One of the first nights he opened for the R&B legend Nina Simone, who said Richard shook like he had malaria because of how nervous he was. Pryor found quite a bit of early success. By the mid-60s, he was appearing regularly on TV variety shows of the time, like The Ed Sullivan Show, The Merv Griffin Show, and even The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. All Pryor's early success came to a head while he was performing in Las Vegas at the Aladdin Hotel. In the 60s, Vegas was a very white town, having no people of color working on the strip at all. So, with legendary Rat Pack member Dean Martin in the crowd, Richard looked over a sea of white faces dressed to the nines in their sharkskin suits and fur coats and thought, "What the hell am I doing here?" Then walked off stage. This was a pivotal shift in Richard's early career. After that, Richard moved to Berkeley, California, the epicenter of the 60s and 70s counterculture. He became engrossed in the Black Power movement, meeting legendary figures like Huey Newton and Ishmael Reed. Beginning to use profanities and allowing his material to become more personal, Berkeley is where the Pryor we know today was born.
I gave that up, no room for advancement.
Now, it's no secret that the world of stand-up comedy has a strong history of drug addiction and abuse. I mean, you can't name on two hands all the incredibly famous comics that have passed away due to drug-related problems. John Belushi, Chris Farley, even Lenny Bruce died of an overdose in the 60s, so Pryor was definitely not alone in this struggle. Part of Pryor's open and honest routine involved him talking about his drug use. He talked about it in interviews like this one he did with Barbara Walters in 1979.
Well, I like some cocaine every now and then, sit around my friends and get high. I mean, I enjoy that.
And you might still.
Might still?
Do still.
And of course, in his stand-up.
Boy, what's that you putting up your nose?
I said cocaine, Mama.
Jesus, God, take me now, Lord, take me now, God, save my life, take me.
His drug use was tasking, though, and really affected his personal life, with drug use, amongst other things, being the cause of his fourth marriage to Jennifer Lee to end. And of course financially tasking, with it being estimated that he spent around $250,000 a year on drugs. I mean, more than most families make. Although it should be mentioned that Richard at this time was massively successful, and money was never really a big issue on that front. Pryor was in his San Fernando Valley home when suddenly he burst out the front door, completely engulfed in flames. He ran down the street before bystanders had called the police. When they caught up to him, they tried to stop and help him, but he just kept going. All in all, Pryor ran nearly 2 miles from his home before the cops managed to stop him long enough for the ambulance to catch him. Pryor was rushed to the Sherman Oaks burn unit and put into emergency surgery, but still only given a 50-50 chance of survival. After 6 weeks of agonizing treatment, from baths that were incredibly painful due to how severely his skin was damaged, to skin scrubs, and that's where they scrub a burn victim's wound with a sterile metal sponge. Sounds just unbelievably awful. And as if that's not painful enough, he was getting skin grafts and surgeries near constant as well. But after all that, Pryor was released from hospital. This wasn't just a physical accident, it was a turning point. Pryor's fiery incident led to introspection, a re-evaluation of his life, and became a part of his brutally honest storytelling. The official story, the one released by police, was that Pryor was freebasing, and due to the fact that he hadn't slept in multiple days, had an accident with the ether, resulting in an explosion. Now, this is kind of similar to the story told by Richard's camp at the time. They initially said that he had had an accident and burnt himself with a glass of rum that lit on fire. But later, that story would change. Not having slept in 5 days thanks to his pipe, Richard was watching a TV program. One of the segments was featuring the Vietnamese monk who lit himself on fire in protest of the war. Pryor later said, in that moment he was trying to talk to God. "What do you want me to do?" he asked his maker. And getting no answer, he poured a bottle of 151 proof rum over his head, soaking himself down through his shirt, and ignited himself. By the time he was running down the street, the fire had been extinguished, but the damage was done. His shirt had melted into his skin, his whole torso and neck covered in 2nd and 3rd degree burns.
I tried to commit suicide. Intentionally? That's all I want to say.
It's honestly a miracle that he survived. But what's more impressive is he actually went on to do some of his best work. Live on Sunset came out in 1981, only 1 year after this tragic incident. He even starred in some of his biggest films like Superman 3 in 1983, Brewster's Millions in 1985, and Hear No Evil in 1989 with Gene Wilder. Pryor's legacy isn't just about laughter, it's about resilience, honesty, and the human experience. His willingness to confront his demons openly and authentically is a testament to the power of comedy and the strength of the human spirit.
And we started talking, and she had seen my act. She said, "Oh, I really like the way you do those little kids in your act. It was great. Can you talk like a little kid?" I said, "What, now?" "Yeah, just do a little." I feel fun. I mean, okay, it's like, "You mean like when I do this, like that?" She said, "Yeah."
Thank you for joining us as we explored this unforgettable moment in comedy history. Just remember to like and subscribe for more content. And later, yo.